Hello everybody and welcome to our first Android development tutorial. So today we're going to be going over creating a Hello World application, basic logging functionality, and some of the basic variable types that you'll see in Java. So we're going to jump right in, create a new project. You can call your application whatever you want. I'm going to call it Lesson 1. Don't worry about company name. And then just save it somewhere you'll be able to find it. I'm going to save mine in the default location. Click Next. Next, we select where the application will be running. So this is just going to run on phone and tablet. We'll make it as far backwards compatible as possible. And click Next again. Now we're going to add an activity, and I'll go into detail on what that means later on. But for now, just add a blank activity. Click Next. And we really don't need to worry about this either. So click Finish. And now it will build your project and open up the editor itself. You can ignore the tip of the day. Now this window is divided up into two panes. So here on the left you have the Project Explorer. So this will show you all the files in your project. Today we're just going to be worried about one of them. And it's this one right here under Java and your project name, mainActivity.java. So go ahead and double click that, then look over here in the text editor, expand these imports here. Essentially what an import is a line of code that tells your computer that it should include all the code from some external file. So what that means is that you can use other people's code, which means you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So here are some of the default imports, and these are pretty much just necessary to have a functioning Android application. We're going to add one more on top of it for the logging module. So type import space android.util.log with a capital L and then a semicolon. So what this will do is this will give us access to the logging functionality. So next, come here into this block of code, create a new line after this set content view thing, and just type capital LOG dot D, open close paren, and then 2 double quotation marks. You can actually use single quotation marks if you want, but I prefer double quotation marks, not really any real reason. And just type message in between them. And then after the close quotation mark, comma space, and then another set of quotation marks, and then type hello world. And remember to put a semicolon at the end of the line. So now we're going to come up here and click run. And it's going to compile and run our project. So this first bit can take a while sometimes, although usually not that long. All right, and now it's going to ask us to choose how we're going to run it. So I'm going to be running it on just the default emulator. So I'm going to say launch emulator and click OK. Now it's booting up the emulator, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video because this can take quite a while. And so once that opens up, I'll be back. Alright, now that our emulator has booted up, we essentially have an Android phone running on our computer. So go ahead and click and drag up to unlock it, and it should open up your application right away. And you'll see there's just kind of this default Hello World thing already programmed in. That's not actually what we did. But if you come back into your IDE window, you'll see this message right here in the terminal. This one right here. So it has a timestamp. Then it says where it came from. Essentially, it says it came from your application. And you have d/message, which is this thing. And then you have hello world, which is this thing. So if we wanted to, we could change this to say something else. We could have it say hello Android instead. That's pretty much all there is to it. It's pretty simple. So now we're going to move into talking about variables. So there are 8 basic kinds of variables in Java, and 4 of them are just for dealing with integers, the whole numbers, numbers that aren't fractions or have any decimals. So the first one's a byte, which is essentially just it's an 8-bit value, so it holds really small numbers. So we're going to call that age and set it equal to 17. Next one is called a short. It can hold a little bit bigger numbers. So we'll call this one year, and we'll set it equal to 2015. The next one's called an int. That's short for integer, and we'll just call this one c. So in physics, c is the speed of light, so we're going to set this to 299,792,458 meters per second, because that's the speed of light in a vacuum. And the next one is a long. This is for really big numbers, so I'm just going to drag my finger across the keyboard here. Oops, didn't name it. We'll just call it digits or something. Now the next two types of variables are for holding numbers with decimals. So the first one's called a double, and we'll call that pi. And we'll set that equal to 3.1415926533536. All right, and we'll just call it quits there. Now this is for holding, so double means double precision. So this kind of variable holds very precise numbers that can have decimals. The next one is called a float. So this one's a little bit less precise. It only takes up half as much memory on your computer, but it can do the same thing. We'll call it E. It's like 1.7. And then make sure you put an F at the end so that your computer knows to store it as a float, or that this 1.7 is a float and not a double. Now the next two data types, or types of variables, are a little bit more, a little bit less familiar. So the first one's called a Boolean. So this data type was named after the mathematician George Boole, if you care. So essentially what a Boolean is something that holds a true or false value. So Boolean awesome equals true. So in Java, the true and false keywords are all lowercase, and they're spelled exactly the way they should be. And the last one is a char. So a char can hold a single character of data. So that could be like, and here you're going to want to use quotation marks. We'll call it char money equals $. There's no problem there. It can actually hold any kind of data that that your file can hold. So if we call it delta, and we can set it to that, and that's just fine and dandy. So those are the 8 basic data types, and we can actually print them, but there is one caveat to how we do that. So these data types aren't text. They're stored in your computer exactly as they are. So the way that we would log them is by putting out the variable name dot to string. Oh. Oops. All right, just kidding. That's not to string. That's string dot value of, and then you can just put in the name of your variable. So something like that. So I'm actually just going to copy and paste this 8 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're just going to plug in each of our variables. So age, year, C, digits, pi e awesome and delta. And we'll go ahead and run this now. So this shouldn't have to shut down and reboot. Oops. Just specify use same device for future launches, because going through this every time is annoying. Alright, and here it is, it reloaded, and there you have our 8 variables. Alright, so that's all of our material for today, so we're actually going to do a bit of a quiz here now. So, can you just name the 4 different types of integers? Go ahead and pause, write them out, and then unpause the video. Alright, they are byte, short, int, and long. Fair enough? Alright, now create a floating point number equal to pi out to the 3rd decimal place. Pause your video, type it out, and then press play. Alright, so the answer to this is going to be float pi equals 3.142 using proper rounding rules, and then make sure you put an F at the end and a semicolon. So that's what that looks like. Next, create a variable called lame and set it equal to false. Alright, so that's going to be boolean lame equals false, semicolon. Are you getting the hang of it? Alright, I think that's it for today, so I'll see you next time. Alright, bye.